exercise. Dr. Milo Wolf, let us know why you hate the bent over row.
Well, there are a few things. It's not that I hate it. It's there are simply better exercises. Specifically, the bent over row, depending on how you do it, has a few issues. First, if you do it dead stop, that is to say put the weight all the way down at the bottom, you're missing out on a very important part of the range of motion, the stretch. Based on a lot of the research I'm involved with on long muscle length training being beneficial for hypertrophy, the one thing we don't want to do in an exercise, in all likelihood, there's other things too, but is to avoid that stretch position. By putting the weight down, all of a sudden, you're not getting that full stretch. You don't have to control the weight in that position anymore. So that is one issue. The second issue is you're bent over. Those postural muscles, the glutes, adductors, hamstrings, lower back muscles, they're being fatigued. And if nothing else, it increases fatigue generated by the movement. It reduces the likelihood of the actual target muscle being the limiting factor, that is to say the upper back musculature, potentially your rear delts, and so forth. And so that's the second limitation. And finally, the exercise is inherently most difficult in the shortened position. This is a limitation of many back exercises. Unless you have access to prime machines, which fortunately this gym does, most back exercises are hardest in the shortened position. Pull-ups, hardest when you get to the top. Pull-downs, hardest when you get that peak squeeze at the bottom. Most people can't touch the bar to their chest anymore. Bent over rows, the same issue. It's hardest to get the bar to touch your belly. And so as far as resistance curve goes, both on the lengthened end, when you do a dead stop row, not ideal, and on the shortened end, it's most difficult. So it's kind of just the worst of both worlds as far as that goes. So instead, let me show you a better exercise that is going to produce more hypertrophy on average in your back. Instead, I would recommend doing the chest-supported T-bar row. I mentioned 3 issues earlier with the dead stop barbell row. This fixes all 3 and has another benefit on top. First, as far as getting a full stretch, unless you're 7'5", you will never have an issue with getting a full stretch on this machine.
And I'm not 7'5". I'm 7'4".
You will never have an issue with getting a stretch on this machine. You can get as deep as you want. In fact, you could even turn it into a flexion row, where you purposely flex the spine on the way down, stretching the erector musculature, and then extending it on the way up, which actually has the benefit of also growing your erectors, right? And specifically, this machine with a chest pad, it makes it a lot easier to focus on moving your spine as opposed to your hips. That is why I typically prefer a chest-supported machine or T-bar row over something like a cable row. In a cable row, for most trainees who aren't used to just moving their spine, they will default to just going all the way forward and all the way backwards. That is fine, but you are extending the hips on the concentric. You're involving your hamstrings, glutes, and adductors more than necessary. It's not improving your back stimulus, it's just involving other muscles. A chest pad makes it a lot easier to focus on the spine. Additionally, because of the way a T-bar moves, the moment arm is greatest at the very bottom, meaning the resistance is going to increase as you reach into that stretch position and decrease as you reach into that shortened position. Essentially, the opposite of the bent over dead stop row. In the bent over dead stop row, you have no tension at the bottom, and it's most difficult at the top. This at least somewhat remedies that issue by having the moment arm decrease as you shorten the back musculature.